Hey y'all, and welcome back to Photographer Life Check. I'm your host Qurissy, and I have the incredible Ashley O'Shea with us today. Hey,
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up?
Ashley O'Shea is a Chicago native, so you already know this is exactly who we needed to talk to for today's topic. She's also an incredible director, DP, filmmaker all around, and DJ. Shout out to DJ Protasia. Tap in. You already
Okay.
know. Come on. You already
Okay. We're
know.
checking into all of the streams. I appreciate that.
Period.
Also, I am not from Chicago, just to clarify
Wait,
before the
what?
folks come after me.
What? Where you from?
I'm from Indianapolis,
Oh my God, not you
Indiana.
scammed me. Ashley, what the fuck?
Wait, how did I scam you? What made you think I was from Chicago?
It was just
I'm
giving
always
Chicago
curious.
girl. Honestly, I think it was probably just because of how we met. Like we have a lot of the same mutuals and everybody was
Yeah,
from Chicago and it
yeah.
was giving Chicago girl. So I very much thought
I've
you
been in
were I
Chicago.
mean, you my cousin,
I've been
but
here for 10
but
years, so I feel like
that's it? What the fuck?
you said it with your chest too. I
I
said,
did.
wait, let
I
me
just
clarify.
knew. I just knew, damn.
Nah, because then you was going to start asking me what high school I went to, and that's where it was going to go left.
See, which is why I thought you was a Chicago. Okay, it's cool. We still Midwest baddies here. It's fine. It's fine.
Period.
But you do have roots in the South, though, right?
Yes, yes. My
Beautiful.
mother's side of the family is from Alabama.
Of course, of course.
Mhm.
You know, shout out to them girls.
Shout
Um,
out.
Today's episode is gonna be a little different because, as y'all probably saw from the title, we talking about sinners today. So, unfortunately, we're not diving deep into Ashley's creative journey and pulling up all of her work, but maybe she'll come back for that. Maybe
Hey,
we'll have another
ain't no
episode with
maybe. It's
Ashley
a
for that.
absolutely
Come
yes.
on,
Just call me
exactly.
when.
But what I do need you to know is it's stamped. So all of her work, her links will still be in the description box as per usual. And I thought she was the perfect person to talk to have our first conversation about sinners, which,
Oh, we
we're
have
hoping
multiples.
we're hoping there might be a couple more,
Oh,
stay tuned
okay.
for that. You know what I'm
Love
saying?
that. Okay, come through.
But since you are also an image maker, a filmmaker, I thought you were like one of the best options to talk to for our first go round. Having both insight and then just being the consumer of the
Yeah,
film and like wanting to know what your thoughts are and the discourse around it, XYZ.
yeah.
But we will keep it the same at the top, which if it's your first time tuning in, what a perfect episode to tune in on. But we love to start off the episode with a photographer fit check. Photography fit check is just as it sounds. I just like to get into, what we wearing, how we coming, and you could talk about something that you're
This
wearing that you
fucking
love. it could be, it could be your clothes, jewelry, hairstyle.
Okay.
However you feeling.
See, and I caught this right before I hopped on the call that you wrote that, and I was like, "Oh, I am fully in my like in the house two piece." This
And
is
that's
very
okay.
comfortable though. Shout out Six Flag.
Hey, shout out to Six Flag. We love Six Flag.
Yes, this is because Chicago still ain't warmed up, so I had to throw this on
Truly.
today. But I did throw on. I just got back from West Africa with my
Girl,
family,
and I saw some of them photos. My goodness.
bruh.
Maybe
Let's
that's
get
what we
into
need to
it.
talk about when you come back. Like, because
Right. I'm not even gonna go there. So I put on some of my Africa drips. So this was a
that's
beaded
pretty.
ring I got from Accra, this market in Accra.
Mm.
And then this bracelet came from my sister, Brianna. Shout
Ooh.
out Visuals by Brie. When she went
Hey,
to
Visuals Library.
Cabo she went to Cabo Verde, Africa. So this is like the see no evil symbol there.
Oh, okay.
So, blocking out them bad omens. This is just some other shit I bought in Africa. I just be putting on the stuff. These braids are from Africa.
Period.
On
Exactly.
their
The
last
blood is from Africa. You really tapped in today.
It's like when you go on study abroad and you come back. That's
Exactly.
the phase I'm in right now. So
I know you. We just need to go back to the motherland, y'all. Like,
no, for
come
real.
on.
They kidnapped
I
us,
mean,
obviously.
you got yes. And what a perfect energy to be in already in talking about Sinners. So let's talk about the camera systems and the formats at the top, just to set
Yes.
the tone. How many times did you watch,
Okay, so I've
and
seen
in
it.
what format?
Yes, so I've seen it one time in the IMAX. I think it's 1.90 is like the not. I didn't get to go to the 143 like seeing the 15 perf situation. I'm
Mm-hmm.
hoping to do that when I go home because that's one of the theaters that has it. So I saw it once in that IMAX format, and then I've seen bits and pieces in a format that I will not share. I found a way. I found a way
Oh,
in prep for this call.
how
I
about you let me know when we get off because
it's not a good one, but it's enough to like. It's not one that you should be using for this because it doesn't look good, but it's good enough to remind me of the things.
exactly. Also, as well, you gave that whole crew your dollars already. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying,
Right, and I'm gonna go see it in true IMAX in the true format. So
exactly. Which is the Panavision 70 and
yeah,
the IMAX 15 Perf 70 are the things that actually are talking about. I too was on the hunt. I was on the hunt. I was not as lucky as you, and that's okay. I went to go see it.
I
I
love
went to
that.
go
Like
see it.
we're not even saying what it is, but we know we know what we're referring to.
Exactly. I hit up my little sister like, please use your youth and like tell me
Not your
where it's
youth.
at. Tell me where it's at. Where are the people tapping in? Um, but I went to go see it 3 times.
Oh wow.
I love this damn movie. It's
Okay.
so
I
beautiful.
saw
I was
you
so
went.
committed.
Did you go to? You saw it in the 143, like in the true 15 perf.
Yeah, that was the
Okay.
last time I went to go see it, and that was also the time I like was taking notes. And
Okay.
I clearly love this movie so bad because even on the third watch, I still got like pulled into the story. Like I still
Yeah.
like was like, damn, I'm
You were
supposed to be
still
taking
leaning in.
notes, right? Like I'm still just so tapped into the story. It's really beautiful. Um, I feel like some filmmakers might be surprised by this statement, but my favorite format to watch it in was the IMAX 15 because it was just ginormous.
I
Now I feel
don't
like
know.
I'm spoiled. Like I
No,
want to
I
if
feel
I
like that
came
is.
it
Yeah.
was beautiful. It was so
Yeah.
incredible. I
Yeah.
think just
That's how
cuz
it's
of
supposed to
the
be seen. That's beautiful. I love that for
yeah.
you.
Oh my
I'm
god,
jealous, honestly.
it was so massive. It was just
Mm,
like this is how a great movie like this is supposed to be seen, and I
yeah.
don't want to see another movie another way. Like I can't believe I have
Yeah.
to.
I mean, they did it for what's the name for fucking? Can we cuss on here? Because I'm about to
Yes.
cuss. They did they did it on fucking Oppenheimer or whatever. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, they did,
Yeah,
but I never watched it. Did you
me
see it?
neither. But I'm saying
Oh.
like these white filmmakers all the time have the option to be as
Right.
grand as possible. So why not
And
us?
oh my god, why not us end with this story that we're talking about? Which is why I'm glad. I feel like you also put that in your bio though, that you do have roots from the South, which is why I also felt like you were one of the perfect people to talk to. Just like having all these different sorts of contexts, like having family from the South, specifically Alabama, and then y'all landed in Indianapolis, you being a filmmaker. And we have a similar story of them being the story being placed in Mississippi, and we're talking about the migration to Chicago. You
Hmm.
know, while those cities might be different, that story isn't crazy different. You know what I'm saying? And I really appreciated that you could bring multiple just pockets of context for this conversation.
I'll try. I'll do my best.
Okay, so one thing that I love about Ryan Coogler, did you watch that video he put out about
Yes.
these different formats?
The Kodak one? Of course I did.
Yeah. I also watched it before I seen the film entirely, and I was like, oh my God, he broke this down so beautifully.
I
I've
think that
never
was the first
understood
thing
it
I
more.
watched. I think that was actually I didn't even know about this film. And like I
Oh,
hadn't
until
seen the
then?
press and marketing. I don't know, or it was maybe that week leading up that everything was coming out. But that my
Mm.
cousin sent me that, and that was like the first time I was like finding out about it for real. So
Wow.
immediately I was like, oh, I'm going to see this. I don't even care what it's about.
Exactly, literally. I mean, I only heard one thing about it before then. And well, I saw like a part of the trailer. I didn't know it was directed by Ryan Coogler at that time. I just saw what looked like the movie was saying was that like white people were vampires and black people in Louisiana needed to do
and
something
two
about that.
and two Michael B. Jordans.
Right. And two Michael B. Jordans. And I was like, oh, I'm down. Like that's all I needed to know. And then I saw that video and I was like, this is the Ryan Coogler film. Like, oh my God, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
But that made me think about aspect ratios in a way that I feel like as primarily a photographer, I don't really have to think about as often.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any feelings or ideas about different aspect ratios related to emotional
Oh
like
yeah, for sure.
results? And let us know like what you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, this is a discussion. This is a part of just like the creative decision making process that most, if not all, cinematographers go through when they're getting ready to like shoot a film. I think a lot of times folks start to lean towards things just because of like the technicality of it. So sometimes you'll hear folks be like, "Oh, I want to film this anamorphic. I want to do de-squeeze,
Mm-hmm.
like all these different things just because it's like the fad of like what you can. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful, but like that 276, like that wider aspect ratio that he was talking about is what anamorphic gives you, and a lot of times that limits you in the vertical world and it expands you like in terms of like the horizontal world. And so to see with Sinners the decisions they made, even in like jumping in between the different formats, you could tell that they were tied to different emotional arcs with the different characters throughout the film. So
Mm-hmm.
I think the first time we see it in the full 15, well, what is supposed to be 15 perf, if you aren't able to go to the right theater, is when Sammy is like driving to the church in the very first scene.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I do wish I could have seen it again, because I would have clocked. You probably know because you just saw it, just like when it switched from like the wider format to
Yeah.
the 15 perf. But yeah, what I appreciate about it is just like showing the duality. I feel like a lot of this film is about like dualities, and
Mm-hmm.
like the nuance of things, like even in the way that they I was looking up the film stock that they shot it on, and they shot it on Ektachrome, which I don't know. They shot I think the IMAX camera on Ektachrome.
Wow, I
So
didn't know that. Oh my God.
yeah, and I'm sure you've heard of Ektachrome before, but like
Yeah.
last year was the first time that I do film photography, as you know, and so that was the first time I had ever like shot on it.
Mm-hmm.
And the contrast, and because I was even writing before, or like taking notes before I looked up the film stock, I was noticing that like there's a lot of play with like light and dark, like
Mm-hmm.
with like the darks and the lights, but then there's like subtle colors in between. And then I realized that this was even more escalated when they were using the Ektachrome film, because that's like the nature of the color positive film.
Yeah.
um so yeah, I feel like I appreciated how it could show, it just like was an outward representation of the duality of the characters or their worlds. um I used to be a projectionist. Like I used to work up in a booth
Oh,
at
for
some
real?
point. Yeah,
That's
so
tight.
I was low key triggered when he started talking about ratios. The only thing, I don't know if this is real beef, but like I've seen it done in films where there's more, and I know they probably couldn't do this because they were literally filming on two different cameras,
Mm.
but there's like more of a transitioning between the different
Yeah.
ratios, and I
I
didn't love. I don't know how it looks in the 65 mil, but like I didn't love. I just don't love when stuff like jumps around. It just
I
drives me
did
nuts.
off my first watch. I was like, "Oh, this feels a little choppy just going from different aspect ratios." And I was like, that's interesting. But something that I think it was just ultimately the story
Yeah.
where I stopped paying attention to that. And I think, I mean, as filmmakers, even other departments in film, like people that I know work in costume or grips or props or whatever, like if you work in production, you might be watching movies with more critical eye
Mm-hmm.
of being like, why is this like
Yeah,
this?
we're
And
very snarky.
right, you know what I'm saying? And I think I was just fully ready to be that girl because I'm like, let's see what this is really talking about. But it did not take long for me to just be
Yeah,
so engulfed into the story that I was like, I don't give a fuck
yeah,
what anything else look like. Like, this is so
yeah.
beautiful.
And like I said, it eventually becomes a marker for like where you are in the story. So I
Right.
think when you start to, because I know they didn't, I know they didn't make the decision unintentionally, especially when you're working with
Exactly.
film stock. Like you don't, it's not like you can like waste that for real. So,
Exactly.
yeah, I definitely understand. I think that's just probably part of what came with that decision is like, if it's not,
Right.
it's
If we
just gonna have
go
to
and
jump
shoot it
around.
multiple ways, we jumping around. And yeah, of
Yeah,
course. So then why not make it intentional when we do it?
yeah. What we really
So
need is
since
theaters to be able to change the mats on the side up there, on the vertical and the horizontal, but they don't like to pay for that. So,
which how crazy would that be? As a
yeah.
projectionist, were you ever in charge of like an IMAX situation? I saw a video of them having to like reformat the IMAX projection
I
for a
never,
theater.
no, that's very rare. I mostly just projected 35 millimeter, and
Okay.
then some Super 16. But I mean, like loading that alone and having to do the changeovers and the timing and make sure the framing's right, like those days in the booth are very anxiety driven
It
because
seemed like it. When I
yeah,
that was my first time watching that, I think. And it was for this IMAX joint and that thing is massive.
yeah,
That's like a
yeah,
two-part machine. I was like, what the fuck?
they don't make, and then they like, I remember when they were talking about Oppenheimer, they like they had to like bring them into the booths. Like most theaters aren't equipped
Mm,
with these IMAX projectors just
right.
like willy-nilly.
Which would
So
make sense.
yeah. So yeah, it's a whole situation to even bring in those projectors because in the way Ryan described it, he talks about how the 15 perf goes horizontally, but when
Mm-hmm.
most film 35 and 16 goes
It rolls up.
vertically, so
Yeah.
it has to be on a different projector system to even work.
That's some crazy math.
No, really. It's like I got into film, so I wouldn't have to do math no more. And
And
surprise,
here we are.
surprise.
Surprise, surprise. Okay, I just made
Oh,
this little
okay.
slideshow, of some of the beautiful clips
Oh
up in
wow.
this film. And since we're already talking about what this visually looks like, I want to jump right in and get straight into color. Something I thought was interesting,
Hold on,
super
orange.
obvious. Stacks is red, smoke is blue, right? But one thing I found interesting was that there were like these little elements like this one here where it's like when we get this
You can
note about
see.
the sunset, it's all blue and red or like blue and pinks. Or how Smoke's partner Annie, she wears blue the entire film.
Mm-hmm.
Let me pull her up.
There she
Boom.
is. Yep.
They're both wearing blue. And then Mary for Stack, she has on pink.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, what a beautiful relationship and a way to use color, especially considering like we're playing a twin here.
Yeah.
This is the same person. How many ways can we make them different, besides the personality and like the acting that Michael B. Jordan did? And I think color was such a beautiful way to do it.
Yeah.
And like you pointed out a little earlier, everything is so golden and warm at the
Mm-hmm.
top.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime we're inside of the juke joint and we're with family and friends and everybody at the party, it's
Mm-hmm.
super, super warm.
Mm-hmm.
And what I
When it gets
noticed,
cold.
yes, is that outside is cold. And I thought that
And
was
the church
interesting.
is, what's the church doing?
You know, church is all neutral. Like, what's going
Yeah.
on? Where we
Yeah.
at with the church? Right here.
Yeah. That's wild. That's really good. Yeah. This is like, it also just really drives in the point of like how important every like department of a film team is, because
Mm-hmm.
the costuming, the set design, production design, like it all had to like play into this so that the camera could like pick up on those color nodes in the right way.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I think one thing also about in terms of costuming that I found really beautiful is what in particular like the women were wearing sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't find a good photo of Pearline or her real name is Jamie Lawson. But if you remember her dress, I feel like whatever fabric that
Yeah.
is, she literally looks like a pearl. And I
Yeah.
thought that was
It like
so
glimmered. Yeah,
fantastic.
it was like
Yeah.
shimmering. Yeah. Yeah.
Every department really killed it.
They ate down. They ate
They
down.
really
They said
did.
we
They
read
really
the
did.
script, baby. We did our
Okay.
coverage.
Don't worry about it. We got you.
We did our coverage. Did the I'm asking because you've seen this multiple times and I've again only seen once full and then bits and pieces.
Hmm.
Did by the end of the film did you notice like a full like had the color fully shifted to be cool for everything or was there any like any callbacks to like a warmer tone, warmer
Mm,
environment?
I think they played into it making a little warmer, but it isn't as
Okay.
warm as like what the inside of the juke joint looks like.
Yeah.
Um, and I think in part is because where the story is, it's about to be the sunrise,
Right.
but it goes from being cool, cool, dark, 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 and then we get a little warmth as Remick, the maybe devil character,
Mhm.
begins to blow up in flames and like rest comes over the little juke joint town.
Got you. Not the
Yeah.
little juke joints.
Because I'm thinking, I'm like, well, it's not a whole
The all the little
town worth of people.
vampires.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I'll have to try to keep an eye on that for the second watch. I mean, the other thing about the Ectochrome piece too is like you have a lot less um because it's color positive film and it's like kind of baked in there, you have a lot less room to play what like with the digital scans than you would if
Hmm.
you were on color negative. So it's like
Right.
that's again going back to all the different department heads. Like it drives that point home further that like you got like we got to be on it like while we are in production. This isn't something we can like bake in post. They're really just like kind of maximizing it by that point.
Yeah, and had to. I'm so glad you told me it was Ectochrome too. I was able to shoot on Ectochrome for the first time, I think maybe like 2 years ago now, on large format for the first time.
Ooh, that's
And that was hella cool.
spicy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But in that way, like the visual language of Ectochrome, you're supposed to get like really good dark darks and like nice solid whites kind of feeling. And thinking about complexion, I was thinking about complexion anyway from this film, but knowing that it was Ectochrome kind of just like
Yeah.
revealed something to me, I think, because the character that did it the most for me in this whole film, love everybody, everybody ate. But Delroy Lindo,
Bruh. Give my man his flowers.
he did it for me. And it's
Yeah.
really this scene when we first meet him. So a little bit before this, because this is when they start playing at the train station. But when we meet him at the train station and the darkness of the
Mm.
shadows on his face,
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
was looking forever to find that shot. And I'm like, man, I knew I should have took a picture while we was in the theater or something. Like, I should have took a picture
I'm
because
always scared
I
my flash
know me
gonna go
too.
off. I be triple checking, like, did you turn it on? Because I be, I do little cute social media posts, and
And
I
you know
be
the
so
iPhone
worried.
just be turning on that shit no matter what.
Right?
Like it's like I did not ask for this in this moment. But yeah, like the the deeper parts of his complexion, I
Yeah,
really feel shined damn near in every scene, to
bruh.
be honest.
Yeah,
You know what I
they were
mean?
able to find such nuance in the skin tones that I think
Mm-hmm.
so often our people are not afforded that
Exactly.
in the ways that we're captured, where half the time people don't even like black people correctly. So
Right.
that's an issue in itself. And that's something even before I started kind of rewatching clips again, I remembered that I felt like there was so much what's the photography term? Not latitude. You know what I'm talking about, like the
Longitude.
no.
No, what you talking about?
I'll look it up. It's when it's like the dynamic range. That's what it's called.
Oh, okay.
There was so much. The longitude is crazy. The there was so much dynamic range in the shadows
Yeah.
that I think is like you really have to be intentional about. So shout out to Autumn, the DP, for really
Yes.
making sure that popped out. The other thing that I noticed when I looked back at it is that when most of the characters are introduced for the first time,
Mm.
um they place them in the center of the frame and like kind of give
Mhm.
everybody their own kind of like hero shot moment.
Yeah,
And I
which feels
was
like a
trying to figure out
premiere.
what that could mean. You said it just feels like a
Mm.
premiere of each. I was just trying to think of like,
Yeah.
yeah, the meaning behind it.
Yeah, I don't know. That's such a good point. I hadn't considered like what that could mean. Um,
Is it like groundedness? Like, is it like you're the
one of
center of
the
your own universe? Like, I have so many thoughts. I don't know. I don't have the
I
answers.
I did find this photo, which isn't
Mm,
exactly the first time we meet every character, but I picked up this photo because I think this team, in particular Autumn, did such a good job of creating portraits out of every
mm,
character. And there are
yeah.
so many shots where we get really good portraits. And I mean, especially that scene at the train station with Dale Orlando. Some of them look like family photos to me. I think especially
Mm,
because they're wide shots. It kind of looks like, I don't know, it familiarizes
yeah.
me with some of these characters where it's like, oh, I know these people. I know that guy. I've been to that
Mm,
church. I know
yeah.
what this looked like. And especially if you
Maybe
have
it's an
that
attention
context.
tactic. Maybe it's like is
Maybe.
maybe it's to draw you into whatever new storyline you're about to go on,
Mm-hmm.
but to be like, hey, this is like somebody that you
Is
need to pay
important.
attention to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love what you really need to find, which may never surface. I would love to see like what their lookbook was like for this film because I wonder how
Oh,
much of it, well, not wonder, but I know that I'm sure they took from like archival photos like during
had to.
sharecropping past, slavery past. Because even in that like final sequence, where Michael B. Jordan is like attempting to roll up the
Mm-hmm.
cigarette, and it's kind of like flashing back to the day.
Yeah.
There was like these couple random shots where they're just showing these like sharecroppers like on the back of a truck. Like it don't even feel related in a way, but it almost felt archival in a sense. And so
Mm.
obviously there's just like a lot of historical reference in this film, and I'm sure they kind of tapped into like archival photography from those times to kind of inspire some of these shots.
I feel like they had to, and I would love to see the lookbook. Oh my God.
You
I
just got to
feel
get
like,
Autumn on the podcast,
which
obviously.
is, you know what I'm saying? The goal. Autumn, hey girl, would love to have you. But yeah, I think that's another beautiful thing about this film is parts of it does feel like reference shots we know. And I
Yeah,
guess that's like that family photo album thing to me too, where it's like some of these things are familiar. Um
yeah.
especially if you have a relationship with or just understand the context of the South in particular, like places like Alabama or Mississippi during the 30s, the Great Migration, what it was like for characters like Smoke or Stack to go up north and make their
Mhm.
way back down,
Mhm.
um, and have some of that like historical context. I think there's no way you aren't pulling from real life.
Yeah.
You aren't pulling from artifact. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Even this the shot you have up here where they're like all at the door
Mm.
staged in this particular way. I feel like there's a few of these throughout the film.
Yeah.
And I feel like it really drives home the point of just like how no, like obviously we talked about the hero shots, but I also think there's a sense of like nobody is like left on their own. Like there's always
Girl.
like community to back them. Um and I think that really comes through in shots like this where it's not even layered on a horizontal plane. It's also like the
Depth.
Z axis or whatever. We keep talking about Mad Child.
Yeah.
Uh, the 3D, the depth of field.
The
Come
depth.
on, DOF.
Yeah.
The depth of field of it all, I think, really gives this sense of community and like I got your back, you got my back. And that was something when I watch again, I'm gonna look out for just to see if there's moments after, because obviously I think this is when the white man, I don't even remember his name, child, the main
Remick.
vampire,
Yeah. When he
Remick, yeah,
first, yeah, when we're
yeah, when he first
introduced to
pulls up,
him at the
yeah,
juke
but
joint. Yeah.
right, but there were a few. I know, like when oh boy with the straw hat, Lord, forgive me for not knowing these names.
Cornbread. It's
when
okay. It's okay.
cornbread comes, I know there's a few times where people come back to the door, so I'd be curious like
Mm-hmm.
what those shots look like throughout the film and how they might change. But yeah, this one was really dope to me, just seeing how they like layered the subjects in the frame.
I agree. I love that you called out that it's like nobody is dealing with something alone. Um, and I think that's why the color choice is kind of reiterated in that. And there's like
Mm,
warmth within the juke joint because we're all in this together kind of thing. I mean, we talking about the blues, and that's a very somber music genre. It's mostly created out of sad stories,
mhm,
but it's also a huge moment of relief for people that be at the juke joint.
mhm,
So, of course, that would be the warm environment. And the outside, everything outside of this is cold. That's the cold world, everything we got to deal
mhm,
with.
mhm.
The real villain of the story isn't actually vampires, it's racism, it's the Klansmen,
Yeah,
it's white supremacy, right? And like that is
yeah,
so obvious. But I love that like we get that in both context and color, and even like you said, like the depth of how we're placing characters within a scene. I think that's
yeah,
so beautiful. Like it really
yeah,
drives everything has reinforcement in this
yeah,
film.
yeah. It makes me even think about now. I'm thinking about the use of like fire throughout the film as well.
Uh
And look, I'm like, this is starting to veer into non cinematography, so just slow me
which
down
is
if I do
okay.
this.
No, it's okay. Take it
Well,
there. Take it
I'll
there.
say one cinematography note. I do know that part of the reason that they decide, I was watching, I think it was an IMAX interview that they did with Ryan and Autumn,
Mm-hmm.
and Ryan was saying he shot a lot of his previous films on Super 16. They
Yeah.
originally was going to shoot this on Super 16, but they had decided to do a lot of like in-camera VFX, which is basically just like doing the effect
Like
live
practical.
as a
Yeah.
practical instead of composited. And if you do that on, it's not as it's not as friendly towards like Super 16 and 35 as it would be towards like the 65 millimeter, because it
Mm.
is such a large format. It can really like capture the grandiosity of it and the colors and
Oh,
everything
okay.
like that. Because at first I was like, is it because it was flammable? But that wasn't that wasn't it. Because that they had let that go a long time ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was interesting. But yeah, I mean, I'm curious what your take on the fire is, because I don't think I even have a clue. I think it's just like I think
I don't
obviously
think
this is like the moment like it's like that everyone's talking about the different
the
decades of
ancestral
music,
moment. Yeah.
right? And then it's like that one take like from him up to the sky and back down, and
Mm-hmm.
then the juke joint's on fire. I thought it was just a way of piercing the veil maybe between the two
Mm-hmm.
worlds. That's all I got.
I do think piercing the veil for sure. One thing that stood out to me, particularly in this scene, because in this scene, it's a zoom out where then we see the back of Remick's head, the main
Mhm.
vampire, and he is. This is what he sees, but this isn't actually what's going on, and that to me kind of
Mm.
represented how. the enemy can see your greatness, can see
Mm.
how close you are. And I mean, he says that outright. He like, oh, you tapped in, you brought out
Yeah.
your ancestors and everybody else's, which I thought was a beautiful thing to do, where we get the
Yeah.
two Asian historical characters in there too.
Yeah.
He like, yeah, you bringing out everybody's ancestors. I miss my people. I need you so I can tap into my people.
Mm.
And that to me is what that moment represented, where it's like, oh yeah, they can see your greatness, they can see all
Yeah.
that you do, and they're not always going to tell you. And if they
They gonna
do,
figure out a
they're
way
going to
to
try to take
utilize
it.
it.
Yeah, exactly. They're just
Mhm.
going to try to utilize it. But I
Yeah.
think before that scene that you mentioned, where we follow up the flame up into the ceiling, the first thing I thought about when I first saw it was the roof is on fire. The roof is on fire, and I
You
was like,
said music so hot, we blew off the roof, baby.
okay, it's a juke joint for real. I'm like, yeah, because I know what it feel like to be at a good party,
Yeah,
and
you
you
right. Yeah.
hot and you sweating, and it
Yeah.
don't matter anything else going on because you so in the
You
moment that
tapped
like
in.
you
Yeah.
tapped in. And so I felt
That's
like
a
that was
Chicago
like,
girl for you.
period.
Talking about a juke, child.
I mean, I do want to get into the pipeline of a juke joint to the juke party. Let's learn our history here. So that
Yeah,
makes me
that's
think
really
about
interesting.
how like you can be fully in your joy. You know what I'm saying? Like they not worried
Yeah.
about no enemy in this moment. This space, like they created the space for
Yeah.
themselves, which
Yeah.
is why they was so like thrown off when they seen him walk up. Like, yeah, you go ahead, couple miles that way. It's a party
Right.
just for you over there.
Right. Also the fact that like oh boy Remick like perceives this as a burning building, like he
Mm.
perceives it as this like burning house, like
Mm-hmm.
like yeah, like what does that mean in terms of
Like, what's
symbolism,
that
that you're
about?
looking at this cultural practice of black people and all you can see is destruction.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I don't know.
That's
Maybe it's a
interesting.
premonition. Maybe
You
it
know
was a
what I'm saying?
premonition
And I didn't think about
to
that.
what
That's such a good point.
happened, but yeah, and it was also interesting. I don't know how many times this happened again because I would love to go back and just see when they switched the different aspect ratios. But I remembered there was such a floating feeling in this first in the scene where it kind of goes through the different musical cultural moments of
Ancestors and stuff,
blackness.
yeah.
Yeah. So
I would
that it
love to know
happened
how you
there.
felt about that scene too. But
Um,
continue. You can continue with that if you want to.
I mean, I can tell you how I feel about it. I
Okay.
enjoyed it. I did think parts of it were cheesy. I'm gonna keep it 100. I'm gonna keep it 100. I do feel like parts of it they could have. I don't know. It just went on a little long for me, and then when Shorty was twerking in the kitchen, I was like, "Bruh, this is too much." But
What everybody got against the twerkers?
wait, have other people said this?
Oh my god!
I just wasn't prepared for it because, like, I think I expected it to mostly and again, I just got back from Africa, so maybe this is why. But I thought it was gonna kind of just point to the past, and I was like, okay, cute, because I legit was in Senegal and all those places, like watching people dance.
Yeah.
Like this is Chicago footwear, like seeing the
Yeah.
connection between everything. And then he said, no, we are going all the way there. So
We
that's
taking it there.
that's his decision. I'm gonna let him stand beside it. It was beautifully shot. It was amazing take. Like I can't imagine the orchestration that it took to do that as one seamless shot.
My goodness.
Because any DP will tell you like a single take shot requires that you have to figure out ways to like hide the cuts, whether it's like a doorway or a window. They may have done a lot of it in an actual single take because they had that whole environment, but then there's like the orchestration of people moving, people being in the right positions. Like
it had to be perfectly choreographed. Like to make a scene like that, you got to practice a million times for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure they spent at least a couple days on just getting that shot. So I have respect for it. There's just certain parts I don't like. That's all I'll say. What did you
Oh
think?
my goodness. I thought it was incredible. I
Most people
will
feel that
say
way though. That's good. That's fine.
only the filmmakers I've talked to, image makers in general, are the only people I talked to that was like, man, the twerkers took it too far. Like, we didn't need to see that. And I'm like the one person in that group of people that's like, no, we needed the twerkers. I I love that scene.
Yeah.
I think what, okay, I guess two things about my overall takeaway from this film was Black people's relationship to Christianity, Black people's relationship to spirituality, and Black
Mhm.
people's relationship to music, and maybe
Mm.
music as spirituality. And
Mm.
it was that scene that kind of like really drove it home to me that like music is also a spirituality, and we know that because we've all tapped into that. And I guess maybe not we've all, but we can all tap into that even if we're not the people making music. There are people who
Mhm.
can maybe do that work of like calling on our ancestors when we are creating music. And then there are the people within the juke joint, within the party, or within the
Mhm.
church, if it's gospel music, that are receiving that and can feel
Right.
everybody else show up around us that might not physically be there. And I feel like I felt
Mm.
that, which makes me feel
Yeah.
like DJ Frotasia was not the one watching that. Okay. You should have tapped in
Ah!
on her. You should have tapped in on her.
Look, I ain't talk no crap about the audio of it all was phenomenal. Like the sound
Oh, that
design
was
of all that.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like honestly that probably pulled me more into like what you're talking about than the cinematography in that moment just
Mm.
because
Mm-hmm.
like they created this like haunting soundscape around it, but they
Yeah.
also leaned into I don't know because I think when a lot of black folks like when folks start talking about our African ancestors and their spiritual practices and their music practices, you know, people like want to look at it with critique or with shame.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this like you're saying, there's this we just have this complicated relationship with spirituality. Like we had these African practices, and then we were kidnapped, brought over as slaves, and then another practice was projected onto us, and then we internalize that into like what it is for us today in its many different
Yeah.
forms. And so I think even the haunting, the soundscape they created around it, like where it initially feels haunting, but then you realize that like I feel like it's like kind of a critique of this, like the fear that they've tried to put in us with like our ancestors,
Mm-hmm.
and the way that they communicated and expressed themselves. So from that perspective, I respect it deeply.
Yeah.
And I don't hate the sequence. I just think it was a choice. Like it was a
Yeah.
choice. And I let him have his
Yeah.
choice. It's not the choice I would have made. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, some people I spoke to felt like it was too on the nose. Like we
Yeah.
get the metaphor without every piece. But I think, if we didn't show some of those characters, would
Yeah.
it be like, would the conversation then be like, oh, are we hiding this part of
Yeah.
our culture? Like, is this something that we're ashamed of?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's room for all of us. Like
Yeah.
the futuristic character that kind of like resembled like a Boosie Collins,
Yeah.
and the twerkers and the California niggas. Like I
Right.
think like there's room for all of this, and in fact, like we needed all of this,
Yeah.
because I think one thing that I'd be curious to learn about other cultures and how they utilize dance, but Black people at large and historically have utilized dance and movement for a healing practice.
Mhm.
And I think it's incredible to see that in a place like the juke joint, like that being also a spiritual or healing act as
Yeah.
a collective. I thought was like really beautiful to be like,
Yeah.
bro, we all literally was just in the fields. Here go this
Talk
plantation
about the fields.
nickel.
We was literally in the tribes in Africa, okay?
You know what I'm saying? Like we finna go to
Yeah.
this juke joint and sweat it out real quick because we gotta
Yeah.
get up tomorrow and do the shit again.
Yeah.
Like,
I also think like you speaking to this point I think also makes me think about the importance of like audience and not think
Mm-hmm.
about Blackness from a monolithic perspective, because, and this may be my privilege talking to me, you know, like I grew up like working class. I went to private schools
Mm-hmm.
like my whole life essentially. Like I grew up with a certain experience of Blackness that is different from your experience, and like, you know, there's so many ways that people experience their identity. And so maybe that's part of what it is. Like maybe like, cuz I can't speak for folks in the Bay Area who see this film and they maybe feel seen for the first time because he
Yeah.
included that. Like,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. It's a choice. Like
Yeah.
I don't really have anything against, it's just not what I prefer, but like I understand that he made the creative decision he made and it worked
Yeah.
for somebody. So
Yeah. Somehow, somebody.
not me, but for someone.
I I think about this scene and the scene when we see the group of vampires outside and Remick does the Irish dance.
Yes. Yeah.
And how they kind of like
That's what I was about to bring up earlier when I was,
coexist.
yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Also, on a side note, it's a banger. I'm not gonna lie. That song hard.
The Irish song.
Yes. I'm not gonna lie. I was
Sometimes they
running
make
up that
bangers.
playlist. You know what I'm saying? And I was there like on the road
Irish
to Dublin.
Oh, what's wild is that, I mean, I'm sure you know this, but like Irish, you know, Irish people were also oppressed in their homeland by the
Right.
British, and then for displaced and sent to America.
Yes.
And like there has been this deeper dialogue, I think online, just about like the people that are adjacent to whiteness, and how they sort of try to coexist, like they try to both live in the world of like that privilege, but also want to have some sort of relationship with folks that are like still that are experiencing oppression on a deeper level. So yeah, that was interesting because I don't think they reveal, I don't remember when they reveal his Irish accent, because it's definitely not in that first scene.
Not in that first scene.
Yeah.
I think not until around here, low key.
Okay. When they break out into song.
Right. I think what you're talking about, like the way, okay, on one hand, this story had to be told as it is. This is such a Black American story. And of course they would use, like the white character in the story would have to be Irish in order to say something like that. Like we have a similar experience. Like for him to be like, no, I'm like you, like if you just come over here, like we could really do this shit for real. Is kind of Remick's perspective. I think he would have to be Irish. And I also think it was beautiful because considering they went to specifically Chicago, it's like they've had their experience with Irish people there. And the theory is that they stole, you know, the liquor from them, whatever. One thing I think is super interesting is that we see both Remick and Mary code switch twice. I think at the top when he first meets the Klansmen, I know I got a picture of them. Not from this first scene, like when when he first meets the Klansmen and he sees the hood in the background or whatever, he tries to speak to them, and that's when he uses the term like engine, and he like, oh no, like they chasing me and like please like help me. But when he's talking to the Black people at the juke joint, it's oh no, sir, like I'm like you. These people took me too. And I found that interesting that we then see Mary do that. My critique of Mary's experience, this one.
Oh yeah. When she goes outside for the first time. Yeah.
Oh. So Mary is supposed to be there. There's many a white passing women in history. And in fact, I learned a little bit about white passing that I think I had just like a limited idea of what white passing meant. My idea was that you had to look maybe like white enough, but you still had to like alter something about you. Where it's like, oh, you still had maybe like kinky curly hair or whatever, and you had to make sure it was pressed in order to white pass.
Yeah.
Like, it was everything but like this one or two thing, and you had to adjust. Where in fact, I forgot about the one drop rule. And I watched something where somebody pointed that out, where it was like, no, like at the time they dealt with race differently in that
Yeah.
if it was known that you had a
Yeah.
drop, you are a black woman to these people. It really didn't matter as
Yeah.
much that you
Yeah.
looked white. And what I thought was interesting about that is that we see Mary as the character she plays, and she's like, oh, I don't want to be white. Like, I never wanted to be white. I just wanted to be with you, Stack, XYZ. But I just feel like
you feel like she was trying to get closer to whiteness right here?
no, not here. I think her strategy was appropriate. It's like that's what you're supposed to do. I'm finna go over there, talk to them. You know, they gonna talk to me, whatever. Like, I got us. Yeah, appropriate, right? But where she fucked up was that she walked away. She turned her back to them, which I feel like a black woman wouldn't have done. A black woman peeps some weird going on and backs away with the gun.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
I think I remember audibly saying at that point, like multiple black people in the theater, like, girl, why are you turning your back?
Same.
And didn't she have a gun on her? Like, girl, you could have walked backwards with the gun drawn. Like, it may not save you because they was jumping in the air and shit. But like,
regardless, you probably was gonna get ate up regardless. But but that's the thing that I noticed, you know, where it's like, oh, when you are so comfortable, by now you a grown woman, when you are so comfortable playing the fence, you kind of forget and develop maybe some pseudo trust because you think you're getting over on them all the time. Yeah. So you like, oh yeah, I know how to play this up. And you trusted that you was going to walk away and everything was going to be fine. Which makes me think about like present day. I mean, as early as like the 70s, when does the conversation of respectability politics come in, you know, where it's like, oh, I'm going to just get my foot in the door and I'm going to bring everybody with me. But then once a person thinking about like somebody current day, in a corporate job or something like that, once you actually get your foot in the door and you're accepted, you kind of turn into the monster too. So it's not,
you literally have to become performative.
You become the vampire, right? You become the vampire.
Quite literally became the performance. Yeah.
Yes. And so, you know, I thought it was interesting that we saw it both in a black woman character and in a white Irish specific character, like these two motifs, I guess.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I am also, now that we're talking about those two scenes next to each other, like I don't know what to call it, you know, the juke joint scene and the one outside of the juke joint, and just like, again, the different ways that they're communicating, like, I guess, like community and togetherness, is interesting, because it's like a lot of those same characters that were inside of the juke joint have now been vampirized or whatever, and they're now as part of this community. And the ways that they're filming it is also like showing like those clusters and how, I guess, cohesive they can seem, or how cohesive it can feel to be a part of these respectable communities, but you're not actually a part of them. You're just living out a performance of them. And I think that's a huge undertone of the whole film, and how everything is approached to is just performance in general.
That's such a good point.
Whether that's within Blackness in itself, because obviously we see like a church space, we see the juke joint space, like we see all these different ways people have to perform, and then to outside communities, how that is sort of communicated.
This just made me think of this, and I have a clip. I did not consider this until you said that. It's like in this dance scene, it's about Remick. Everybody is just going in a circle.
Oh my gosh, it is.
And for this one, people are surrounding him. It's like we always make circles around people at parties, but like they come closer to him. So it's less that he is trying to control them. Yeah. And Remix is, oh, I'm trying to control you. This needs to be about me.
Yeah, that's wild.
That's so interesting.
Because even with Sammy, it's like he's the focal point, but then he's not. Like he's just like, he's part of it. You know
He's
what I
just part of
mean?
the
Like
party now. Yeah.
it's about the energy that he's generating, but it's like it's
Right.
about the people that is being generated within, and not so much
I
because
mean,
we
he
don't
even
see
steps
him
off of the
outside of that first
stage.
moment. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow,
that's fascinating right there. I did not even put that together until now.
love it. Another thing, can I bring up one more thing? I know,
Of course.
and once more, I was noticing again. I need to get through one more full watch, but there
Hmm.
was definitely some sort of motif happening with the sky. Like the amount of
Yes.
times that they reference the sky. I think the first was when is it after Sammy drives up to the church? It's really early in the film. There's a cutaway to the sky.
Hmm.
Oh, Ryan was in it. He had full beard, everything hair, full, like
Okay.
that's how you know he was in his artist bag, child.
No days off.
But another moment where obviously during the juke joint they go up to the sky, but then, um, when the first time that they go to the truck that has all the guns and everything like that,
Hmm.
and Smoke is like, one of them is like, I can't remember which one is which. She's like, oh, maybe we should wait a week to open this up. And
Yeah.
then they look up at the sky. He's like, you see the sky, it's a perfect day, like to be free or something. And I was just trying to, I was like, is it like the sky as like a portal? Like I'm just trying to,
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious what that reference point might be, because like I was saying earlier, a lot of times with anamorphic, when you're filming something, it's about the horizontal like depth you can get out of it, but
Hmm.
also like kind of like how grandiose you can make things feel. And I feel like whenever they went up to the sky, it just felt like huge.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
So for me, I thought that's such a good pinpoint because I think as thoroughly as I could have about it. The one sky moment that really stood out to me was during the wide of the cotton field when they're all in the car
yes,
with Delroy, and we kind of like zoom out really well. And I mean, I've never seen a shot like that of the cotton fields in general.
yeah,
It made it look really beautiful, and I thought it was interesting that the clouds also were very pillowy in this
yeah,
scene too. So it's like, I don't know, to me it kind of was calling on like a heaven,
yeah,
hell on earth kind of feeling.
yeah,
But the sky is referenced way more than that, and so I don't
yeah.
know, I think that's an interesting idea.
Also, I mean, I guess it like if we're talking in terms of like black spiritual practices,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of our parents and our elders, and even like folks of our generation, like we speak of, you know, this like heavenly afterlife, that we all kind of just like reference as above us. And
Mm-hmm.
so, um it may just be a way for them to like have this hope, like it's like as you're looking up, as like a looking forward, looking
Right,
past
right,
where I
right.
am today. And then it takes, again, on the rewatch, it'll be interesting because there is that one time it goes up to the sky during that one take shot, and I wonder how many, if that is like the only time it's really like this darker kind of representation. But yeah, I just thought that was really interesting, and like
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even, yeah, them clouds, them clouds is popping. I also
No, they
think,
really was.
I'm not gonna hold you. I do think that it's another DP thing. I'm so sorry. I do
No, it's
think
so good, it's so good.
that I do think they shot those cotton fields on a virtual wall, but don't quote me. Like I don't feel like that was real.
Mm, damn.
But nobody come after me. Only because I just recently learned about virtual production, where there's these like huge volume walls that you can put
Yeah.
environments on, and they use them a lot in car process shots. So even
Yeah, I
here, I
have seen clips
wonder,
like that.
yeah. So I'm curious, but I know they shot a lot of it in like Louisiana.
Yeah.
So, and obviously there's still a lot of cotton fields in the South. So could be.
Yeah, I'd be curious. The train scene was CGI. Well, not CGI, but green screen.
Okay. Yeah.
So they definitely used, they had to use effects. I'd be
And they use a lot of
curious.
I know that partially they chose New Orleans because of it has a great like tax credit initiative, but there's also a lot of really big sound stages where they could build the interiors. So a lot of those interiors were probably also shot on a stage and very
Mm.
basically I just because I know it's a lot more effort and crew support and money to
Mm-hmm.
do everything in the actual environment. So that's why I was just like, I'm just a little skeptical of it. It looks nice though.
That's real. That's real. I thought it looked so beautiful too.
Yeah.
I'm curious, has Sinners like shifted anything about how you think about your work or like something that you
Hmm.
want to do?
I mean, it definitely makes me want to shoot more film. I've gotten into the practice a lot more with my still photography,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I haven't shot any type of moving image on film since college. I learned how to shoot Super 16 in college. Yeah, it's just sometimes it's I think something I've been thinking about a lot because I'm also working on a film based in the South about my family. I've been I've been
That's so
thinking a lot.
exciting.
Shout out Southmont Drive. Um, I've been thinking a lot of just about like the tactile nature of things.
Mm,
So obviously, like we're filming a lot of this on um, digital cameras in 4K, like very cinematic. But we've also been playing a lot around with like VHS camcorders, and
mm-hmm.
I think I even talked to my DP once about shooting a portion of it on film. We've been playing with like different lenses and the effects that they can pull out. I think this film is kind of just falling in line with what I've already been thinking about, which is just like how can you use cinematic tools in real time to create the effect that you want, as opposed to like not thinking so much of a scene as just like how do I cover this, how do I make sure the story comes across, but like how can I also use the tools that I have to kind of amplify that message. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think it's just keeping in step with things I was already thinking about. And I just shot another rare film called Kodachrome, and I'm low key so sad about it because they apparently can't process it in color anymore. So they can
What?
process it in black and white, but I guess the processing we gotta look. I'm trying to talk it up so these photography houses start doing it again. The processing of it was like it was a very specific chemical process. It's very complicated. It's like 14 to
Mm-hmm.
20 steps or something, and they don't. Most places don't make the chemicals for it anymore, so that's basically why. But of course all these people are selling it like vintage on eBay without that
Yeah.
caveat, so that's on me. But
I
anyway,
don't
that's
know.
a
I feel
sidebar.
like
But
have you looked at houses out here? I mean, I know that wouldn't be convenient,
it's
but
already been sent off, so it's over with.
oh, okay, okay. Because I'm like, I feel like I
did
was
send
just
it like
having
I
a
did mail it off
conversation.
though to this place because I'm almost positive there's a few rogue photographers that were doing it for a while, but then they would get overwhelmed by so many people trying to get
Mm,
there.
of
Because
course.
the thing about Kodachrome apparently is that it lasts forever. So like people would be finding these like undeveloped rolls from like the World War II era, and they would still
Yeah.
come out. So I think that's why a lot of people um, liked it. But anyway,
Yeah.
film stuff.
That's what we're here for.
Yes.
I'm also wondering, did you listen to the soundtrack?
No, I haven't. Not outside of
Okay.
what I saw in the film.
Is there a song that stood out to you just off your one watch? It's okay
I
if
mean,
there wasn't.
I did love the rendition of "This Little Light of Mine." Was that? Am I remember that
Oh
correct? Did
yeah,
I make
yeah,
that
yeah,
up?
yeah. No,
Okay.
no, no. Yeah, that's right at the end.
Yeah, that was
I
really
liked it too.
beautiful.
That I don't remember his real name. Sammy's
The
character.
Sammy.
Yeah, he
I'm
got
gonna
a
look it up real
voice
quick.
on him.
Did you see? Uh, he is one of the singers for Kurt
For her.
Carr or somebody. No,
Oh,
no, no. For like Kurt Carr, the gospel singer, he's one of his
yeah.
singers, and
No, I
his
didn't know that.
and Sammy's real life mom is like one of Hezekiah Walker's in
What?
his choir. Yeah, like they both are like these crazy. I'll send it to you on Instagram.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that was a wild fact to learn because he also can act really well. So that's super impressive that he's able to do both.
Yeah, I think he killed it, and I think this was his first role. Miles
Miles
Cat,
Cadden. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I
Miles
found it. Yep.
Catton. I'm pretty sure this was his first role. But yeah, that voice, I mean, it really sets the tone. It like helps the
Hmm.
fact that like, hey y'all, we in 1932. It's like, yeah, with a voice like that, we in 1932, they don't make these voices like this too often no more.
But that drives home the whole a big point in the film, which is that it's like that type of it spans generations. Like it's not necessarily something that got stuck there. It's something that a lot of folks are gifted with in present day.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
You've made a lot of different types of film, meaning like you've done documentary, narrative, editorial,
Yeah.
commercial. I'm curious, how present is the director for music choice? Like, how closely are they working with a music supervisor, if there is one, or just the
Mm-hmm.
editor, in terms of what music is being chosen for a scene?
I can't speak for every director. I know that I am very close
Mm-hmm.
for that decision making process. I think it's something that as like while you are in the edit is something that's really important to be dialed into because it can affect the beats of a scene, the arc of a scene, how certain moments feel. Um Often with folks that are working with I haven't had the blessing of working with a music supervisor. They don't come cheap.
Yeah.
But from my understanding of it is even when you do have working with when you're working with a music supervisor, a lot of directors will still and editors will place um temp tracks throughout the different edits
Yeah.
that like evoke the sound that they want to hear. And I can't imagine. I mean, I know Ryan Coogler was working with his that Beethoven man. I forgot his name too, but his
Yeah.
roommate, his roommate from
He
college.
he got a name on him.
he
I'm
do
like
he do
like
lunchboxing or
Ludwig.
something.
Yeah, it's shout out to that man though, because he did his
He
biggest
ate.
one.
And I was just talking to my homie about this. I I would be curious what his process was like because I'm sure there were actually probably some days that he came on set and was present for different moments because I think even that would help inform the
Mm-hmm.
composition that he built. But yeah, I would say most directors are like heavily involved in the music choice. I think it's kind of like working with any other role on a film. You want to give them their room uh to show their craft in its fullness, but you're
Mm,
still kind of like guiding the direction on what the soundscape looks like or sounds like, I guess.
yeah. Just so everybody knows, his name is Ludwig Göransson. Maybe
Okay,
I'm
I had the
pronouncing
Lud
that
part.
right or wrong. I don't know. Sorry to
It's
that
me
man
calling
if
him
I am.
Beethoven for me.
Well, there is. I mean, he was in there like Beethoven, so I see the connection.
Facts.
But there is also a Ludwig van Beethoven,
Okay,
which
okay,
you could have
okay.
been confusing the two.
But I think his mom, there was something about his mom naming him after a composer. Like, is Ludwig part of Beethoven's name? I think it's something like that. Like, his mama named him.
Well, there's
Anyway,
a
this is a side
I don't
note,
know.
but yeah.
Right. We don't got to go too
Slippery
deep, I
slope.
guess. But oh yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel
Okay,
so
yeah.
silly. The Beethoven, his full name is Ludwig van Beethoven. I thought that was
Okay,
a
that's what I
different.
thought. Yeah, yeah. Oh, because it's his last name, period.
Yeah.
I know that's right.
Um, Beethoven is Beethoven. What are y'all talking about?
Black people
Yeah.
love
So
to take
his
a
name,
nickname and make it that's her name. That's the
he
name.
got one name and it's Beethoven. It's like Seal and Madonna, like. But yeah, so his name is Ludwig Göransson, and he went crazy.
He went
Um,
hard. He went hard. Can we also drop the full name? I can't remember Autumn's last name, but I want to make sure we give her full
Oh,
credit.
I have to read it. Autumn Durald Arkapaw. Autumn Durald
That sounds
Arkapaw.
right. That sounds
I
good.
hope I'm pronouncing that right, Miss Ma'am, because
I love that we're manifesting her listening to
you
this.
know,
Miss Ma'am.
would love if you could just come join us.
Just pop in for a sec.
That reminds me of something. I watched an interview of her and Ryan, and she was talking about the fact that some really interesting, she said, really interesting ground glass was made
Yeah.
for this film. And I'm not that familiar with ground glass, so I just like looked up and saw what it was, and I'm like, oh, okay, this makes sense. But I'm very curious, like what really interesting means. So for those who don't know, I can give a quick definition, but I would love if you could speak to it too. Okay, in motion picture cameras, the ground glass is a small, usually removable piece of transparent glass that sits between the rotary disc shutter and the viewfinder. And so it usually it usually contains precise markings to show the camera operator the boundaries of the frame or the center reticle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That sounds
Which
right.
to okay. Which to me kind of means it's the glass to show like, oh, once this has to be formatted for a
Right.
different type of format, like what part will be cut off, what you still see in these different formats kind of thing.
Yeah.
But what does that mean? Like why would it be more or less interesting for
I
sinners?
think just because of all the different formats they were filming on, it's
Mm-hmm.
really it's more challenging with film because on digital cameras, it's basically built in nowadays where you have the frame lines. So, you'll have your 239, 185,
Right.
uh, 145. I might be quoting that wrong. And then you'll even have, like, a lot of times now they'll have the vertical 9 by 16 because a lot of people do vertical filming. Um, so it's just a way to, um, it's a way to frame up your shot and know sort of like what the final um for Sinners in particular, because of how they shot it, like it's important that yes, that you're framing for like the ultimate format that you want it in, but a lot of times just for safety, you're still filming the full sensor.
Mm.
So having the ground glass kind of tells you what your boundaries are, but then you're still able to make sure that the full sensor that's being captured is like acceptable. So yeah, like I worked on a friend's film of mine, Olivia Peace, who filmed it 1-to-1, and so the whole shoot we like had the frame, like the ground glass up for the 1-to-1, but then we could still, it kind of just puts like a shade over it, and then you can still see the full frame in the
Mm.
case that you want to cut a different version. Or for them, they cut a bunch of different versions, so they needed to make
Right.
sure that like what they shot in the IMAX format will work for the um 276. Oh my gosh, I'm just making up numbers. Hold on, was that the right number?
No, yeah, that's accurate. 276,
Okay.
190, and 143 were the ones that they
My
used.
poor projectionist brain is just like, because there's a 185, which is like the standard format that you'll see in a
Mm.
digital theater, or 239 is like the anamorphic. So IMAX is just like on its own fucking path.
Yeah.
It's the short of it.
Which is why everybody don't get IMAX.
Everybody don't get IMAX. Everybody
You
don't get
need the
that
budget for
girl.
IMAX. Okay. Ashley, this was so beautiful. I want to continue to talk about this so bad. I feel like I can go on for days. Um,
You
but
got my
I'm
number,
so
sis.
grateful. Okay.
If
You
you
got to let
want
me
a voice
know.
note, voice
You
note
got to let me
it.
know when you go see it again, because I want to
I'm gonna
know what
see
you
it
coming out
next.
with.
I'm gonna see it next weekend in the
Okay.
in the true format. So I'll let you know my feelings after that.
You know,
Yeah.
hit the voice note. I love a voice memo. But
Be
yes,
careful
I'm
what you
so
ask for.
grateful. Come on. I look, this is exactly what I want.
I don't like when people take voice notes and turn them into novels. I'm like, you got a 2-minute cutoff with me, but like I respect it.
Oh, I will listen in like a podcast episode. Take as much time as you need. Like I'm finna listen to it and like do the dishes. Like it's gonna be great for
Well,
me.
now that they have the transcript and like you can,
I do
because
fuck
when
with the
it first
transcript.
dropped, you couldn't listen to it if you left the text, and now you can like do other
Yeah.
things. So that does help. That makes it feel like a podcast for sure.
But this was so good. I'm so grateful you
Yes.
could come. I mean, you dropped gems. You gave us real definitions and like on the ground
I hope
knowledge.
they
And
all
I
right.
really right.
Oh.
Imagine we get hate mail. It would be a
I
filmmaker
mean,
to be
look,
like, that's
no,
not the ratio.
there's definitely DPs like that. So anyway, but yeah, there's always room to learn as a DP. So
Exactly.
I'm definitely not the expert on everything, but I just enjoy shooting the shit because at the end of the day, the technical don't matter as much as the story.
Come on. If you got
So
it done, you got it done.
right.
Okay.
Right.
But
I'm
like
putting that caveat out there for when something inevitably is incorrect. So.
oh my God. God forbid a girl just make a good story. Like who cares about an aspect ratio?
Oh.
No, but I
Oh my
did really
goodness.
appreciate all the context you could give us. I don't remember if I mentioned this at the top, but this is one of my favorite things about this film. It's like how much discourse
Yeah.
I've been able to have, and it seems like so many of us, whether you're interested in filmmaking or a filmmaker or not, I think objectively, I think it's an entertaining film. So whether
Yeah.
you chose to like think deeply about it or not, I think you could still enjoy it. And so I just really appreciate you coming in and kikiing with us for a little bit about it.
Of
And like we
course.
told y'all at the top, we're gonna have a real episode just for Ashley. So for now,
And
can
I'm
you
gonna
let
come
the
with a
people
stronger
know?
fit.
We're gonna really do a real photographer fit check. Oh, I don't think I did my
You
photographer
did
fit check.
it.
Yeah,
You
I
did
forgot. My
it.
bad, y'all. You know what I'm saying? I was trying to channel my
Curls is
90s,
popping.
my
Okay.
little 90s babe, okay?
We are
But
moisturized. Dryness
and
where?
is period. I thought, speaking of dryness, I thought it was so funny that that scene where Remick was like, "Oh, you're not gonna let me in because of the color of my skin," but you could hear how dry his hands was.
Oh, I
That
didn't
shit
even
was
catch that.
ashy as hell. It was so loud. I'm
Now they
like, this
call white
man
people
ashy as
ashy.
hell. Exactly.
They do be ashy. You
I
just
thought
can't
that
see
was an
it.
inside joke. I was like,
It
shout
probably.
out to
I'm
the,
gonna.
you
I'm
know.
gonna keep an ear for that now. Oh my gosh.
I was like,
Not the white people ashy child.
But anyway, can you tell the people how you would like to be found?
Oh, I would like to be found in peace and good spirits. But if we are talking
Okay.
about the internet, I am on Instagram at Ashley.O'Shea, Oshay. That's also my website, ashleyoshea.com. There is perhaps a forthcoming DJ Frotasia page. Stay tuned.
Oh.
And my latest film that I'm working on about the legacy and the idea of gathering in the South, about my family, is called Southmont Drive. And you can find that on Instagram at Southmont, SOUTHMONT, Drive Film.
I would love to talk to you about that more. I love thinking about legacy, especially as it pertains to just like family lineage, which we could probably, in terms of sinners, we could have probably spent a whole another hour and a half
Yeah.
talking about like those themes within the film.
Yeah.
But I think it would be so cool when you come back that we could talk about that a little more and maybe even have some of these
Absolutely.
stories like kind of, juxtaposed.
Absolutely. I'm very
Is it
serious.
is it done?
No, so we're about
Okay.
we're a little over halfway through production. And we are supposed to have a PBS premiere, but let us keep PBS
Hey,
in our prayers.
we sending one up for PBS and for Autumn. Fuck with us.
So yeah, we're a little over halfway through production, but yeah, if you go on the Instagram, there's a lot of the beautiful imagery we've been able to capture so far. Shout out DP Alvin McBean. Brianna, Visuals by Bree, did a lot of BTS. That's really great. yeah, it's just been really wonderful to go down to Alabama and like touch grass and like just be where my
Yeah.
ancestors were.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot to unpack. So it's very much in process, but yeah, I would love to come back and cut up about it.
That's so
Maybe we'll
tight.
go to the finish line.
You know,
Yeah.
do you still need any funding? Like I can throw some of that in the
Yes,
description box
yes. I'll
too.
send it to
Okay.
you. We do have a fiscal sponsor through the Southern Knock Fund, so you can make tax
Nice.
deductible donations. And I
Hell yeah.
accept all forms of payment, Zelle, Cash App,
Period.
Venmo. But I can just send the fiscal sponsor.
Yeah, okay. I'm just
Maybe
making
you just
that
want to send
note.
Ashley O'Shea money. I
Okay.
do accept.
Money for a smoothie.
Bruh, this matcha, this matcha ain't cheap.
Period. Okay. Boom. Okay, cool. All right, beautiful. You can find Photographer Lab Check everywhere you get your podcasts. You can watch us specifically on Spotify or YouTube, or listen to us everywhere else like Apple, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and the like. Thank you for tuning in today, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye. Oh, what
Peace.
Ryan Cougar said, fellowship and love. Fellowship and love.
Fellowship in love.
Bye, y'all.
Peace.
Today's episode is brought to you by Art House, the first Black-owned film lab in the city of Los Angeles. All my photography homies love Art House because they specialize in C41, black and white, E6, and ECN2 processing for both 35mm and medium format film, all while using a custom-built cinema scanner to get you those stunning movie quality stills. So go pick up and drop off a roll at their new location in Chinatown. And check them out at arthousefilmlab.com or Art House Film Lab on IG and tell them we sent you.